Welcome, welcome, everybody. Greg Peterson from Urban Farm U, and I'm here tonight with Janice. Hello, Janice.
Hello, everybody. I'm Janice Norton. I'm also from Urban Farm U. I just happen to be on the West Coast side.
There you go. Tonight, we have a really exciting class. The dynamic duo, foliar feeding and fertigation. And so that's going to be a discovery about what that is. And that is with Anthony and Derex from High Creations. Anthony is an Arizona native from the town of Gila Bend with a degree in microbiology from the University of Arizona. He is a co-founder and COO of High Creations, a company dedicated to bringing beneficial microbes to the world and farmers everywhere. With an organic philosophy and a science core, they have developed a line of soil amendments for both indoor and outdoor cultivation. He has a long interest in microbes, especially in their beneficial properties.
And the other half of this dynamic duo is Derex. Now, Derex holds a Bachelor of Science in Environmental Sciences from the University of Texas in San Antonio. He has over 13 years of combined experience in the fields of environmental microbiology, chemistry, and bioremediation. He holds 2 patents related to these fields, and one of his published journal articles on the studies of microalgae after herbicide treatments. All of that information is probably going to be best found in our podcasts, but you can join us tonight. We're going to be digging down just into the products themselves.
Yeah, exactly. So let's go ahead and jump in. We have about a 30-minute presentation, and then we'll take questions after that. So
all right.
We are recording. You can see my shared screen, Janice?
I can.
I have to tell you, when I first saw the name of the presentation, foliar feeding and fertigation, the dynamic duo, I thought it was talking about Anthony and Derek. So I had to giggle about that.
That's pretty awesome. We'll take the compliment.
Yes, absolutely.
Before we actually jump into the formal presentation, I have some questions for you. We've been working together now for 3 or 4 years, and we at the Urban Farm love your products. So we've had a lot of opportunities to interact.
Okay.
And I know some of the things that are going to come up that I want to define before we actually get started. And this is a curious new thing for us. I've not heard this before. You call yourself a scientific solutions company. Tell me about that. I love that.
All right. No, that's really exciting. So a scientific solutions company. One of the things that we do when we're out in the community is that we listen to all the different problems that people are having, either if it's growing vegetables, if they're trying to maintain a healthy fruit tree. And they've covered the basics. They've covered the basics of I water properly, I provide the right micronutrients, but they never really talk about the growth stages of the plant and the chemistry that's happening and the microbiology that changes in the soil as your plant is going through its growth stages. And that's something that we wanted to do, is that we wanted to bring solutions from a scientific approach. And that's why we've had about 99% success in making sure that all the trees are developing fruit. We explain some of the difficult aspects of the chemistry, like your plant growth hormones and what are they doing to the plant, how are they signaling the plant to grow. We talk about the also difficult microbiology. You can't see microbes with the naked eye. So it's really difficult to talk about, even on a science level. So that's where we are. We are a scientific solutions company. We bring results through science and expertise.
And, we've known you long enough to know that that's absolutely the case. I love that. You're constantly learning and sharing and teaching with us. It's like we have to bring this to our listeners. So thank you for that.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, cool. And in our presentation, we talk about the Wisdom line, which is products we develop. But sometimes there's other companies out there that want to develop their own nutrients. Some companies that want to use certain specific bacteria to inoculate their soil. That's another level of scientific solutions that maybe not everyone might be familiar with. We have our own microbial library, and we culture those bacteria and put them in our products.
Yes.
Nice. So tonight's about fertigation and foliar feeding. Let's start by defining what is fertigation.
So fertigation is a technique that can be used to deliver nutrients to your plants. It's going to require a reservoir, some sort of drip tape and plumbing. And what it is you actually make your nutrient solution, fill up this tank, and then it's like a timer. It's going to be able to feed whatever area you're trying to take care of, whether it's through sprinklers, drip system, or even flood irrigation. So it's really a technique, really a system that you can use to feed your plants, your grass, whatever you're trying to take care of, really.
Mhm. Cool. And because setting up a fertigation system might be a little complicated. If somebody wanted to do a simpler step, there's something called drench, right?
Yeah, drench application is your most basic way of delivering nutrients. It can be done in a bucket, one of those watering pails. And what you'll do is you'll fill up that bucket with water, add the nutrients, mix, and once you pour it down, that's considered drench. So that's like the most basic
Yes.
idea of fertigation. Fertigation is more automated, a little bit more advanced. Definitely helps out if you have a larger area to feed.
Cool. And that's just adding some nutrients in a 5-gallon bucket and taking it over and drenching it or dumping it in your basin around your tree or plants, right?
That's right. Simple as that.
Excellent. Now, what is foliar feeding?
Foliar feeding is a little bit different from fertigation, where foliar feeding is a technique used to correct micronutrient deficiencies. But we've been able to take it a step further and actually influence the plant's growth. And so foliar feeding, for example, if you're starting to see some type of corrosis on your leaves, they're turning yellow, and we know that you've applied plenty of nutrients through your fertigation, and it's taken a little bit longer than normal, we normally make a foliar solution, and that foliar solution contains some type of a mineral that's going to bind with whatever nutrient you need to deliver to that plant. And you just basically spray the plant. You're spraying the leaves, you're spraying the bark, you're spraying the branch, and you'll just allow that nutrients to absorb in the plant to correct those deficiencies immediately.
Great. And this is as simple as buying a 1 or 2-gallon pump sprayer at your local nursery and putting nutrients in there, pumping it up and spraying it on the plants, right?
And foliar feeding your plants, that's basically what you're going to do. One of the things about foliar feeding, like we said, is a little bit more targeted. So once you get your flowers to develop, you actually want to let the plant take care of itself until they're pollinated. We don't want to disturb any of the flowers during foliar feeding or just spraying the plant itself. And so there's a time where we just have to take a step back and let the plant do what it was designed to do and grow fruit.
Nice. And you're going to bring up one more thing in this conversation tonight, and that's called a Brix, B-R-I-X. Can you tell us what that is? Just a, like a 1-minute description.
Yeah, so Brix is basically the measure of soluble sugars inside of the fruit. This is very important because we as the consumers of that end product want to have something that's nice and sweet and delicious. And so Brix is just basically measuring how much sugars were built up during the process of that fruit development. One of the things that we notice is that once your fruit has the proper nutrients through fertigation and foliar feeding, that you're able to get your Brix to the maximum level, which is around, for most fruit that hangs off of a tree, is around 18 to 22% Brix. If you can get those levels, then you're going to have a nice, delicious fruit. If you're not able to get those levels, you might find your fruit being a little tart. But if you're doing fertigation and foliar feeding at the same time, you can rest assured that you're going to get an excellent sweet fruit, which is what we mean by Brix.
Now, not only is it sweet, but it's more nutrient dense. Is that not the case?
Absolutely. As your fruit's developing and as it's getting sweeter, that's an indicator that your fruit has all of the necessary minerals, available minerals. So whatever was available for that fruit now will be available for you. So it all goes back to nutritional health.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you for this pre-conversation. Now let's get on with the presentation.
All right, thank you for hosting. Today we'll be talking about the dynamic duo, foliar feeding and fertigation using the wisdom lines by High Creations, a scientific solutions company. Now I know you guys are familiar with the urban farm, but what about us? This is who we are. We're High Creations, and I'm Anthony Dominguez, microbiologist, owner and co-founder, and I have a degree from the University of Arizona in microbiology.
And I'm Derex Zellars, an environmental scientist. I'm also the co-owner. I went to the University of Texas, San Antonio.
So the dynamic duo. Today we'll be talking about fertigation and foliar feeding. Let's talk about fertigation to begin with. I like to say fertigation is the everyday approach because we're using small continuous applications of the wisdom line, and that's one of the most ideal ways we can deliver these products. What it's so great about it is that it's a constant source of nutrients for your soil microorganisms. And what this is going to do is going to promote microbial diversity and a competitive plant microbiome. And on the other hand, we have foliar feeding. It's a more advanced technique. We use it less frequently. It's highly targeted, but it's very effective. Some of the good things about foliar feeding is you can really use it to influence your plant or tree. And some of the goals we like to shoot for when we're doing this, we're looking to prolong blooms, increase flower production, we're trying to increase yield, and we want longer lasting produce with no deficiencies. And if we do see deficiencies in our trees or plants, we want to be able to correct them as quickly as possible. So what type of products would we be using for both fertigation and foliar feeding? Well, of course, we're going to use the Wisdom line by High Creations, and it consists of 4 products. We have Heart, our humic acid, Soul, which is a humic acid derivative, similar properties to Heart because they're made from the same material, Essence, which is our pure kelp product, and Noble Gills, which is our fish emulsion, and it just so happens to be the only fertilizer we have on the line. The rest of them would be considered soil amendments.
Let's jump into fertigation. It's one of my favorite things to do. Why? Because I'm a microbial guy. So I love seeing the diversity of what's coming out of fertigation. With our products, like Anthony said earlier, we want to promote soil microbiology. This is very important. Why is it important? Because in the end, we are not the ones feeding the plant. The microbes are feeding the plant. So we actually have a saying is feed the soil that feeds the microbes that eventually feeds the plant. And so feeding with nutrient-dense soil amendments will help unlock the vital minerals, but these minerals will be unlocked by the microbes. And so that's why fertigation is so important, especially when you're using the Wisdom line.
Yes, absolutely. With the continual use of the Wisdom line through fertigation, we actually promote a diverse plant microbiome. And why would that be important? Well, because a lot of pathogens in our soil are opportunistic. So as soon as they find something, just the littlest crack, the littlest opening that they can take, they're going to attack. But if we have a diverse and competitive microbiome in the soil, a lot of diversity with our microbes on there, they have a less chance of establishing themselves. Now, on the other hand, we have foliar feeding, which has less to do with the microbes and more to do with the plant. And this is where you can really influence the genetic potential of your plant. You see, we have some 3 photos up there at vegetative growth, flower, and harvest, well, right when the fruit is ripening. Those are some specific times and when we would foliar feed. One, the first for the vegetative growth to develop those leaves. 2, you're going to try to induce those flowers. That's what we're talking about, using products like Essence, which we'll talk about more in a little bit, to set those flowers to bloom all at the same time, like the likely chance that they'll be pollinated all at the same time, and you'll have a longer lasting harvest. Also, we may run into deficiencies because of the soil, because of our conditions. And the great thing about foliar feeding is you can spray the leaves exactly where they're having trouble, where they're showing signs. and you can correct that a lot faster than you would taking the soil approach. One thing we also like to talk about is the next year's crop. That's another benefit of foliar feeding. Via some of the properties of the wisdom line, we can actually store sugars for next year's harvest while the trees are in dormancy. And I can tell you a lot of people don't like to foliar feed in dormancy, but if you do, the results will show in the next spring, your next harvest. They are really, really beneficial. A lot of people don't do that. It's not very common, it's not very known, but through our trials and research, we have discovered it is really, really beneficial. So why would we use heart and soul for fertigation? Now, I don't want to say this is the most basic, but this is your very baseline, like heart and soul, just the real bones of everything. So I think we talked a little bit earlier about heart and soul are made from the same material, and they're actually organic acids. One of the big things about soul is that it does have a different molecular structure than heart, which gives it the ability to deliver nutrients directly into those plant cells. It's very unique. And a fun fact about soul, Derex has been studying soul since he was in college. So he knows a lot about this.
Yes, yes. It's one of my favorite products from the Wisdom line. One of the things that we want to understand about fertigation is that your minerals, when we're talking about calcium, magnesium, your iron, your copper, your phosphorus, all of those have to be in an available form. And so one of the things about fertigation is that you're constantly feeding the soil. And as you're constantly feeding that bacteria, they're constantly releasing nutrients into the soil solution. And this is where your nutrients are going to be uptaken. So one of the things about soil, that it's going to automatically bind all of those available nutrients and take them directly across the membrane root zone.
One of the frequently asked questions we get is a lot of people like to say, oh, is that important? Is that, there's already so much calcium, there's already so much potassium in our soils. But the thing is it available? And if it's not, then you really do need heart and soul to help make those available so they can be uptaken by the plants. Another benefits of these organic acids is it's going to stimulate enzyme production. Those enzymes are going to continue to break down the nutrients. They're also going to promote root growth. Some of these bacteria will develop their own plant growth hormones, stimulating those roots to grow. But not only that, it also starts up the immune system. It helps some of those important cofactors, those small metals, those micronutrients. They're going to help stimulate the plant. And overall, it's going to help increase the nutrient content of our plants and the fruits that it produces. Another great thing I like about heart, though, is the soil aeration. So we hear the term opening up the soil, and that's heart actually pulling apart compacted soil. Like we deal a lot with clay here, but not only it works on clay soil, but it can work on sandy soil as well. It can actually help produce organic matter to help build up those soil aggregates. So overall, this is one of the greatest ways to use heart and soul is through fertigation. It is very, very beneficial. Take our next step to essence. And we like to say essence is simply essence. A lot of kelp products on the market will be extracted with potassium hydroxide, and it'll turn black. And what happens during that process is it burns up the plants to release the nutrients. So in trying to unlock it, they actually do some damage, but not us. We use pure pulverized kelp, and which makes it the most concentrated product we have. It preserves the integrity of the plant itself, so we get a lot of the benefits from the kelp. Being that it is our most concentrated product, a little will go a long way. And we like to say about essence, it's that it's the ultimate hormonal balance because it contains naturally occurring plant growth hormones. It also is loaded with trace minerals, beneficial microbes, and amino acids. One of the reasons why it's such a great microbe food for the soil bacteria is it has a certain texture to it. It's gritty, and it takes up a lot of surface area, making it an ideal source of microbe food. And you can really see this happening if you spray it on some compost or maybe some wood chips. you're definitely going to see an increased growth in mycelia. It'll definitely be there. And a little bit what we talked about earlier, increasing the sugars, which we all know as Brix. And so if you use this properly, you are actually going to increase the Brix levels in your fruit and vegetables, making them sweeter, and they will last longer.
You know, Anthony, one of the secret weapons that we have when we go talk to our customers that's had fruit trees in the ground for 3 or 4 years that's never fruited. And the first thing they ask us is, hey, my fruit tree isn't fruiting. Can you guys get it to fruit? And without hesitation, we always say yes. And we go through, we listen to their stories about how they're doing the proper amount of water, they're adding the proper amount of nutrients, but they can't get their tree to fruit. And so one of the secret weapons that we use is the plant growth hormones that are contained within Essence. This year, as we've been visiting our customers and clients, we have about a 99% success rate, which means that every single tree that is on their property is fruiting.
Wow, that's incredible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. So
I can't agree with that 100%. That's about where we're at. They've got tons of flower production. And you know what? Those flowers hang on. They're pretty tough. We've suffered through some windstorms here, and those flowers hold on. They're not going to let go. It definitely makes the tree more robust. That definitely helps for sure. Noble Gills. Okay, so this is our only fertilizer in the line. It is a great overall fertilizer, but what really makes us special is that we use sardines, and sardines are going to live in deep, cold waters. And it's that environment that produces an overall better quality fish fertilizer. That's why we call it the royalty of the sea, because it's those fish are going to produce higher protein contents and higher fat contents. So it's a really, really good fertilizer. One of the greatest things about it is its soft source, a digestible source of nitrogen. There's nothing worse than when you try a new fertilizer and it burns your plants. But Noble Gills, that will not happen. It's been broken down. You know, this product takes us a long time to make. We actually have to let it. I feel like it almost takes a year for us to make a really good batch of this, and that's what we do every year. We prep for the year ahead. So we're making Noble Gills right now for next year.
yes.
It does take a long time. Another great thing about Noble Gills is the available calcium and magnesium. Keyword available. Now you may think there's a lot of calcium, potassium, magnesium, phosphorus in your soil, but is it bound? Is it available? Can the plants take it up? If it was available, then you wouldn't be having a problem. You wouldn't be worried about it. But when you're using Noble Gills, you know that it's available. You know that it can be uptaken by the plant. It's very important for the development of new growth. Every single plant cell is going to need calcium. Every single plant cell is going to need magnesium to start photosynthesis. It's a great sustainable organic soil conditioner, meaning it's going to help, similar to how heart does, it's going to help actually increase the water holding capacity of that soil. It's a great source of microbe food. It's definitely the type of food you want to be feeding them because, again, it has the calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium. All those are very important. And it works really well with the leafy greens. We're talking plants that are going to have a little bit higher nitrogen demand, like spinach, kale, some of your peppers that need a lot of nitrogen. It works very good for those. Your tomatoes too. I can't remember how many people have told us that this is my tomatoes love it. I've got so many tomatoes. They're great. No blossom end rot. And that's because of the micronutrients in there. We've talked a little bit about fertigation, which is the everyday approach. And now we have foliar feeding. So we actually use 3 products for foliar feeding: Sol, Essence, and Noble Gills. Now, this is the caveat. You can use heart. In the past, we haven't because it's just a darker product. And if you spray it on the fruit, chances are there's a slim chance that it could happen, but it could stain the fruit a little bit. And we didn't want that on the commercial level. So we always stay away from it. But heart's very safe to spray on any type of tree you have. It can actually penetrate through the bark. It has a little bit of iron, which is very much needed in our high alkaline soils here in Arizona. But it's safe to use. So if you want to use heart to spray some of your trees, it's absolutely okay. But today we'll focus on Soul, Essence, and Noble Gills. And why are we gonna foliar feed with Soul? And I think Derex, this is your product, man.
Absolutely. Thanks, Anthony. So everyone talk about foliar feeding. How are we going to get the nutrients inside of the plant? Well, chances are we are not. We're relying on the bacteria that probably is going to be living on the leaf surface. We're going to spray those plants and then hope that the bacteria can break down those nutrients. That's going to take a really long time. So what we want to do is go ahead and feed the cells directly. And so it all comes down to the molecular structure. You have to have a structure that's small enough to penetrate the surface of the leaf. And that is our product sold. Its molecular structure also carries a lot of trace minerals, and we mean in the ionic form. And ionic form means available. So organic is not available. It's made available through the mineralization of bacteria, and inorganic is available. And so when we apply organic products or foliar feed with organic products, again, we're relying on the bacteria to make those available. And so our special product Soul, it's not only a great product to foliar feed by itself, but if you want to add your own little concoction of nutrients or micronutrients, you always want to add Soul so it can bind to those nutrients and deliver them into the cell.
I do have a question. It says it
Yes.
contains over 60 trace minerals. How does that all come to be?
Well, because Soul is an actual derivative of humic acid. And so humic acid is a much larger molecule and it contains a lot more carbon. And so that carbon in nature is really designed to feed the microbes. And this process actually takes place in the soil. It's a very long process. You apply humic acid, the bacteria starts to feed on it, and the byproduct of that humic acid is a fulvic acid, which is our product Soul. And once that Soul has been broken down from that humic acid molecule, it's in its inorganic state, which means that it has a higher CEC. It's going to hold and exchange a lot more trace minerals. So basically, it all comes down to the bacteria.
Mhm. Don't you just love chemistry?
Yes.
Me too. All right. So now let's talk about essence. And we said earlier, essence is the ultimate hormone balance because it's going to contain naturally occurring plant hormones. And those plant hormones, when you use them at the right time, it's going to tell your roots to grow, you tell your tree to grow taller, to branch out, to bush out, to tell those flowers it's time to bloom, to hold those flowers on for longer. And it's also going to increase your bricks. It's going to increase your shelf life. And I felt we've done a lot of research. We've just done a lot of research trials with this, and the results they're really insane. Sometimes I feel we have too much flowers. Don't you? Do you ever feel like that?
Yeah, it makes me a little nervous because we know that they're going to all hang on to the tree.
Yes, definitely. You definitely have to do some thinning when using this product, but it's great. The fruit that comes out tastes delicious, and we've had a lot of success. Derex has talked about people not being able to get their trees to fruit. I do remember one of my buddies, he had a mulberry tree for 3 years, and you know what? It still looked very much like it did when it went into the ground, and we were just wondering why. He never got fruit. And given the amount of time it had been in the ground, it should have been producing. So what we did is we used essence and soul. And it was actually the two greatest things I noticed about that tree was actually the diameter of the trunk really put on size over that 1 year we used it. And he finally got fruit, which was so amazing. There's nothing better than to grow your own trees and to have your own fruit in your backyard.
Yes.
But it was the power of essence. I know it was definitely those hormones that help stimulate the tree to grow. And when used correctly, it's probably one of our most powerful products. That'll give you the best results you've ever had. Switching to noble gills, once again, it's a digestible form of nitrogen, meaning it's not going to burn your plants. It's safe to spray, trees, fruits, vegetables, everything. Also, once again, calcium and magnesium. You don't know how important this is, but we do. Calcium is going to help build the plant cells, which gives it its structure, the rigidity, making it solid, helping the fruit form. Magnesium starts the process of photosynthesis. We talked a little bit earlier about the metals and the cofactors, the metal cofactors that are needed to start this process. That is what is needed. Magnesium is needed to start photosynthesis.
And here's another little secret that we learned about no gills. Most people like to show off their plants, and they like to show, oh, look, I have beautiful dark green leaves. And we shake our heads and we say, that's not a good idea to have those dark green leaves. Well, to the inexperienced person, that's excellent. The plant is taking up the nutrients, it's growing. But what's also happening is that the plant is under a lot of stress. So dark green leaves does not equal a healthy plant. And so that's why we love to introduce a digestible form of nitrogen. And so we get the call, say, hey, my tree is looking a little light green. What's going on? I said, it's loving life.
Yeah,
It's loving life.
that means it's perfect. We know that.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's actually stress. When you see the dark, really, really dark green leaves, that's stressing out the plant. And when you have too much nitrogen in there, it's going to actually block out other forms of minerals that will be needed to absorb. So they can have antagonistic properties when you overload with one nutrient versus the other. Wrapping it up, both fertigation and foliar feeding are needed. We don't like to say that one's better or the other, because they're not the same. You need them both to really, really work well. Our goal is not to have any nutritional deficiencies. Feeding the roots is just as important as feeding the leaves and branches. So the roots is, like we said, it's that everyday approach. It's the really slow, constantly feeding with the fertigation, because that's where you're going to get a lot of your NPKs from. Foliar feeding, it's more precise. The leaves on a tree can actually absorb nutrients 8 times better than the roots, but only at 1/10 the volume. So that's perfect, meaning it's perfect for feeding those micronutrients. That's where you're going to be able to change the influence of the plant. You'll be able to make sweeter fruit, longer lasting blooms, longer lasting crops. In conclusion, both foliar feeding and fertigation are excellent methods to deliver the products. When used together, they can ensure the success of your crops by providing a complete range of nutrients. Feeding from the roots is just as important as feeding the leaves and branches, but no one technique is greater than the other. Fertigation is the everyday approach. It wins the day through consistency and can have everlasting effects on the soil. And foliar feeding is the precision move. It's very targeted, time sensitive, and has the ability to completely influence your plants from start to finish.
Awesome. Thank you, Derex and Anthony. This has been amazing. And, I've been telling people recently that our plants need to be fed every day. And that's what fertigation is doing. It's making food available for our plants every day. Just like we need to eat every day, so do our plants. And if we're only feeding them once or twice or 3 times a year, it's not enough, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
And it's spoon feeding. It's very, very small amounts versus a large amount of fertilizer at one point that may burn and cause negative effects. We're just giving, just little bits every day. And that's really one of the best ways to use the wisdom line.
Nice. And there's fertigation machines that we can get a hold of, right?
Absolutely. They come in a various amounts of sizes. So you're going to have a reservoir. That reservoir may be 2 gallons, 3 gallons, or 5 gallons. And all you would have to do is make a solution, top off your reservoir, and turn it on.
Nice. Gotta
Just
love
that
it.
simple.
Oh my gosh, Craig,
Wasn't that great?
that is fabulous.
Yeah.
I'm trying to start my camera again.
Yeah, I got to record this with them. Oh my gosh, sometime in the last 4 or 5 days, and some of it was an eye opener for me. It really was amazing. So
Yeah. I am always appreciative of the way that they break down the science at a level that
right,
you understood. So guys, are you there?
What's
Yeah.
up, everyone?
Yeah.
How's it going?
Can you hear me?
yeah, we can hear you. Can we see you?
Let's try that out.
Yeah, we got a thumbs up. While we're doing that, Janice, while we're getting them on, let's talk about share with them about the products, and then there's a bunch of great questions here. So why don't you share your slides? We'll just cover those real quick and then get on with the Q&A.
All right, here we go. So the nutritional program combo that we hold is something that we do at the Urban Farms, where you buy 1 quart each of Soul, Essence, and Noble Gills, and we'll throw in a quart of Heart for free. Now, this is something that we've been doing from the very beginning because we love these products, and we have been seeing absolute evidence of how well they work in our own yards, in the yards of our customers. And, you know, the Urban Farm, we like to do things our own way. So we do a buy 3, get 1 free. We triggered this for our nutritional program on these 3 products. Get a Soul, an Essence, and a Noble Gills, and get 1 quart of Heart for free.
And here's the thing about these. They're quarts, so it's 32 ounces,
Yes.
but they go a long way. You only
Yes.
need to use an ounce at a time.
Or less.
Or less,
They
yeah.
are so super concentrated. The Heart goes a little faster than other things because it's going into the soil, but you only use it once a month. So it really works wonderful.
Yeah. So we have that available. You can find it at store.urbanfarm.org/feed the leaves.
It believes.
And then we have,
Greg,
yeah.
you guys are in charge of our camera, I believe.
Ah,
Whoever's the
okay.
host.
That's a Greg thing.
All right. I'll play with that while you talk about the sprayer mod kit.
So we have found that one of the best ways of applying foliar is with a handy 1 or 2 gallon pump filled sprayer. And you can find these at any hardware store or any big box store that's out there. However, we've not been really thrilled with the sprayer mechanism on the end. One of our team members brought forth this idea about throwing out this little tool that can use a handheld sprayer and a handheld sprayer that you can change which dial you want and attach it to the 1 or 2 gallon sprayer. Well, we bought these little white devices there, and we're putting them in mass. We buy them in bulk, and we put them in on these kits, and it's just really perfect. So you either pull off or snip off the end of the sprayer that it comes with and put this on, and it's so effective on controlled spraying, and it's easier on your hands too.
Yeah. Well, and you know, the wand sprayers that come with the pump containers, it takes so long to go through, you know, the gallon or 2 gallons in there. And so
Yeah.
you're out there for a really long time. Well, with this, you can cover the same amount of ground in like 10% of the time. It's really amazing.
And the guys will tell you, Derex and Anthony will confirm this, that you're spraying liberally on your trees. You're not incy-bincy spraying. You want to go ahead and give a nice firm coating of this foliar solution diluted in water to your trees. And this is one very effective way of doing it. So we have we call it our sprayer mod kit because it's those 2 pieces put together. Greg, this is your baby.
Yeah. So one of the things for those that that have chlorinated water, if you're watering your garden with chlorine, that is negatively impacting the soil health and the health of your plants because of the chlorine. So first of all, I think you should have a whole house chlorine system on your house. If not, these work great. We sell them, they're chlorine filters. They take out the chlorine out of city water. And this particular one goes on your spigot. We also have one that actually can go in line with sprinklers. So this is a real, I've been selling them for, my gosh, almost 15 years. That's how much I believe in them. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And we have a special tonight, do we not, Janice?
Well, we've been talking about all the products that Derex and Anthony put together, and there are other things that you can do with fertilizer, like an organic granular fertilizer. All of this information that the boys have been sharing with us for years, we developed into a program. And I'm sorry, Derex, Anthony, I keep calling you the boys, but you're younger than us, so that works. Um,
Yeah.
But
And I just want to clear up something here. When you said we developed it, I didn't have anything to do with it. I think you did it all with Derek's and Anthony's help. So thank you.
Well, thank you. This program is gratifying to see how well it is working in our customers' yards. So putting together something that kind of made sense with the different ways of applying the fertilizer, we created a schedule. We share it online. You can get a laminated copy of it, and it has, and I don't know if you can see this, you have the garden section on one side and you flip it and you've got the fruit tree section on the other side. So it's a little bit different, but this has been through the input of Derex and Anthony on their products, and we've gone to research on granular products and just making it universal, because it depends on the temperatures, not the planting season. I mean, it's kind of general on the season, but it's got to do with the planting temperatures, or the air temperatures rather, when you're using the different products. And tonight we came up with a special that if you buy the liquid combo and a sprayer mod kit with our general store, you will also get a laminated nutrition schedule for free. Just use the code FTL, or Feed the Leaves, FTL 2023.
Awesome.
Who came up with that? Feed the leaves. I like that.
I know, all right? That's a Janice thing too. I think you guys should be able to turn on your video now.
Here comes
There we
Anthony.
go.
Yay!
There it is.
Woo! All right, cool.
Okay, that's
Oh, that's wicked cool.
Oh yeah.
We have an amazing amount of questions here.
Back to earth.
Yeah, exactly. We have an amazing amount of questions here, and I want to make sure that we get to them all. We have, right now, there's 28 questions.
all right.
So
turn.
we'll take turns, but we'll really stay on task. Jeannie, and we'll throw these back and forth, Janice, and
Yeah.
I'm just starting at the top. Jeannie says, can you foliar feed when fruit is present, desert gold, peach, Anna, apple, mulberry, and grapes?
Yes, you can foliar feed when fruit is present. You're actually going to start to influence how sweet the fruit is going to become when it's time to harvest.
Oh, excellent.
Nice.
Betsy says, I have read that Brix can also indicate the health of any garden plant by using it to measure sugar in leaves. Sugar content is an indication of overall plant health. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. One of the things that we want to make sure that a healthy plant is going to produce nice sweet fruit, and that usually those sugars are going to be transported from your leaves. So the Brix is going to start in your leaves, it's going to pass to the fruit. So that is correct. It's an indicator of a healthy plant.
Nice.
Nice. Karen wants to know, will this work on her vegetable garden too?
Absolutely. It's great for the veggies. It's great for your trees, flowers, almost anything with roots. The wisdom line is going to work great with.
Use it on
Yeah.
your garden calendar and your fruit trees. It works on both.
And that laminated calendar, Janice laminated it because she thought it would be great out in the garden. And I thought, oh, nobody's going to be interested in that. And everybody wants them. So we're going to give you one tonight.
Yeah. Susan says, using these products, how will they impact the human body upon eating the fruits and vegetables?
Also, when you're using these products, your fruit and vegetables will become more nutrient dense. So you're just going to be feeding yourselves the highest quality fruit you can with more nutrient content.
And these are,
Cool.
they're healthy on the plant, so they're not gonna harm us. Just maybe a quick rinse off and we're good.
Yes, definitely. Just clean your produce like you would anything else, and there's gonna be no negative side effects by feed or spraying the trees, spraying the fruit. Just a quick rinse like normal, and you will be fine.
Nice.
Cool. Shez wants to know, will noble gills work in water like a tower garden or hydroponics?
Yes, it will. We just finished with the client growing hydroponic strawberries using
Yes.
the Complete Wisdom line. I believe we had a Brix of about 26. So we're going to check and see if that was the
Wow.
record. And
Yeah.
not only that, the strawberries were crunchy. So I've never had a crunchy strawberry that had probably about 26 bricks. It's pretty
Wow.
awesome.
The smell is amazing too. It just smelled so sweet, so sugary. Those strawberries were great. We love them.
I really like this next question. Mickey says, I don't have a fertigation system and likely won't this season. Should I use all 4 products weekly in a raised bed to grow vegetables like tomatoes, peppers, lemongrass, eggplant, loofah, etc.? So I think we can take a moment and explain the difference between fertigation and a fertigation system.
Okay, so the fertigation system is that, the automated watering with the reservoir, and you would then make a solution to pour in that reservoir. Well, if you have a watering can or a watering tin of some sort, you're just doing it, but it's manual. So you're going to make a solution in your watering pail, and then you're going to feed it to your plants, which it's just the manual part of it. And so that would be considered the fertigation, or a drench is what you're going for. It's what you will be accomplishing. And yes, you can use all 4 products to do a raised bed, and you can do that 2 to 3 times a week without any issues. We always say we like to spoon feed, so you're going to use very small amounts, but that's one of the best ways to use the Wisdom line.
Nice. I'm actually, I have 180 fruit trees and elderberry plants in pots here that are going in the ground in the next 45 days. And I don't have a fertigation system. It's a 5-gallon bucket and a yogurt tin.
Well, actually, we've actually used that mod kit you have. We've took the pump sprayer, used that modification kit, and we've
Mhm.
actually applied directly to the bases of trees for people
Ah.
who don't have fertigation systems.
Well, there you go.
So it's another way to use that.
I do have a couple of different fertigation systems in use between my yard and Raymond's yard, and they work wonderful, the actual systems, but I've also used it where I just put it in a bucket and poured it out. So yeah, love it.
Drench away, baby. So
Okay.
the next one is about bricks. So Shelley wants to know, what is bricks? DJ wants to know, when is the best time to apply essence for the purpose of increasing bricks levels?
Okay, so Brix are the soluble sugars that you can measure inside of your fruit. This normally happens during your ripening stage, right before harvest. And I'm sorry, what was that second question again?
No, I put it away already.
When is the
Oh,
best time
when?
to spray essence
Yes.
to influence the plant or the fruit? And I think from our experience, Derex, we've learned that it's in the off season and before the flower, before pre-bloom, right around there, I think, has been our best times.
Nice.
Okay.
DJ, go ahead, Janice.
My turn.
Okay, good. Sorry.
DJ says, my organic veggie garden is here in Arizona in the desert. The soil is very alkaline. Do I need to get the soil at a particular pH level to benefit from your products? And how do the products affect the pH of the soil?
So I'll take the first part.
You got it.
So I will tell you, do not waste your time trying to lower the pH of your soil. That could take over 65 million years. And probably the last time that we've seen acidic soils was probably about 65 million years ago. So one of the things that we want to do, we want to buffer the root zone. and not worry about trying to change the pH of the soil, because doing so, you're going to harm the beneficial bacteria. And so basically what we do, want to just buffer the soil so your root zone will mimic that it's in the perfect pH and continue to grow and thrive.
Nice.
That works. I love that answer. Don't bother.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. You're not going to change the alkalinity of your soil.
You can try as much as you want, but the soil is dynamic. So where it's at, it's always going to want to go back to where it originally is at.
Right.
Janice, just quickly on a side note, Marnie said that.
I'm working on it.
All right, cool. That's what was my question for you. Cool. Thank you. Jewel says, so normally we shoot for a temperature range to foliar feeding, but they mentioned to foliar feed while the tree is in dormancy. So is it cold or cooler than the temperature range? And is it okay to spray it on when it's cold or in dormancy?
So the one thing you want to keep in mind is you want to avoid frost warnings or freezing temperatures when spraying in dormancy. So definitely just want to look at that forecast. And if you have a frost or freezing temperatures coming in, you're going to want to stay away from it. And, give it some time. You want it maybe like at least a week or two from the last frost or your last freezing temperature before you want to spray again. And that's just so, you don't do any harm or damage to the tree, but doing it in the off season during the dormancy is really a good way to store those sugars.
And I'm going to play with that here in North Carolina. I'm going to play with it and use it when it's colder and see what happens. I'll let you know.
You finally got some chill hours, Greg.
Right.
This year we've had some really good chill hours here in Arizona, remarkably longer than we normally do. And I've been doing the fertigation in the soil directly with the products throughout the season. And my trees exploded, and they are all having fruit. All of the trees that are more than 2 years old are loaded with fruit. So personally, I love it. I'm going to step off for just a second here and talk to Marnie, who asked a question about trying to get the code to work in the store.
Perfect.
What you do is you put in your shopping cart the combo, and you add that in, you add one, and then you add in a sprayer mod kit. So that's number 2. And then you go over to the add codes. And when you add in the code FTL2023, so 2023, the nutrition schedule will be added automatically at no charge. So you get the 3 items in your cart, and then you can add whatever else you want. If that doesn't work, Marnie, reach out to me, Janice at urbanfarm.org, and I'll make it work for you.
Cool. I want to do this next one. I know you were up next, but
Leah
says,
Marnie's.
this is a really important one. Leah says, added some manure / hay to my garden only to find out it had been sprayed with Grazon. All my broadleaf veggies are deformed and not producing. Yeah, I know, right? So we have to be very careful with the manures that we're bringing in and with the hays that we're bringing in. They are heavily sprayed with all kinds of chemicals. And if an animal eats sprayed hay, it passes through them and it'll go into your garden. So you need to be very, very conscious of that. We've been seeing.
Leah probably didn't know what she was getting when she got that.
Exactly. And this has been happening more and more over the past couple of years. And it's a big deal. So you need to make sure that you're getting soils from a place that tests their soils. And if somebody offered you, even composted manure, I'd want to know what they'd been feeding them. And I would probably pass on it. So her question is, might these products help?
Yes, that's one of my main areas is bioremediation. And that's one of the reasons we focus on our beneficial microbes. That's pretty much the only thing that's going to be able to consume those poisons and actually enjoy it. It's just their role in the environment is to consume contaminants. So definitely our product Heart is going to be your main product to use. It's going to contain a lot of carbon, so that's going to bring in that beneficial bacteria. And then to make it a little bit more diverse, we're going to add a little essence and noble gills. And that's going to bring in more of your beneficial fungi that's going to assist the bacteria
Mhm.
in consuming those contaminants.
So if somebody does have this problem, just to bring this back in, it's going to be heart with some essence and noble gills.
Yes, that is correct. It's called our soil restoration products.
Oh,
Nice.
nice. Love
I'm
it.
gonna be
Leah, that
promoting
was a brilliant question, Leah. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Leah. Your question, your misstep is going to help a lot of people, yourself included.
All right, we gotta ramp this thing up because we still have 28 questions to go.
Way, okay. Debbie says, do these products work for houseplants?
Absolutely. And I think your best products to go with would be Soul and Essence, and that'd just be very small amounts. You can do it in the water, or if you do mist your plants, that's a really good way, just a little foliar feed, and that'll really keep the vigor in those plants. It'll keep those succulents nice and supple too.
The
Cool.
and with that, you just like little drops in the water. You're doing great.
Perfect. Shirley wants to know, will the chart given later mixture and will it give information on how to mix it?
I think this question came in early. This chart here does explain how many caps of each item to put in a gallon of water. So yes. Yes, so this chart does explain that. The nutrition schedule program does explain that. And it's also on the bottles too.
And
Cool.
you
Right, guys?
always want to add products into water.
Cool. Where do we store this stuff at?
Well, all of the products are organic, so they have come from Earth. And you can store it indoors. You can store it outdoors. We just say avoid direct sunlight because we don't want the bottles to break down and start breaking apart and cracking. So just store it in your backyard, your shed, indoors, your garage.
Yeah, and I'd probably store it indoors if it was me doing it.
Arizona heat.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna stay. Urban Farm recommends storing it out of heat.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
That's the best practice.
We're gonna go stick with these questions. Megan says, can you over foliar feed?
I think there's one product that'll do that. That's probably Essence. Everything else, as long as you follow the guidelines on the back of the bottle and the feeding chart, you should be okay. And your frequency with foliar feeding is 1 to 2 times a month. Generally, you're going to want to start with 1, and then as your trees mature, you're going to go up to 2 times. You want to say something, add to that, Derex?
No, you covered it.
All right. Okay.
Excellent. Lee says, I grow berries in containers. Will this help them produce better?
Yes, you just want to focus. You definitely want to focus just on the growth stages of that berry. And then from there, you can tailor your foliar application or your drench application.
Nice.
Cool.
Yes.
Along that lines, Teresa, hey,
Our Teresa. Hello,
Hi,
Teresa.
Can these be used in potted plants and container gardens? If so, what would you recommend? I think we kind of covered that.
Yeah.
Sure, question came in, but I wanted to say hi to Teresa anyways.
Yeah.
Yes.
Follow the directions. Stephanie says, does foliar feeding hurt fruit still on the tree?
No, it will not. It's not going to cause any damage to the fruit on the tree. If anything, it's going to help extend that shelf life.
Nice. Alicia Rose says foliar fertilizer is a chemical or natural substance applied directly onto a plant's leaves to improve its health and increase fertility. I guess we're just getting information here. She goes, it is this way the plant obtains the necessary nutrients directly through its leaves for faster results. Is that correct?
On a scientific level, yes. But remember, soil is an organic molecule. So we're going a little deeper beyond just the surface of a synthetic fertilizer. We're going more on the molecular structure of an organic compound.
Okay.
Peter asked in the chat and here in the Q&A about well water. And yes, well water is great. And it depends on the well water. You know, you have to have your well water tested. When we arrived here in North Carolina, I spent about $600 getting my well water tested to make sure that it's okay. And that can change over time. So generally well water is good, but you have to have it tested.
Megan B says, is spraying tree wrap with the foliar feed a problem? So you're spraying it on the wrap that stays on the tree.
Yeah, I would
don't.
spray the tree.
Yes.
Don't spray the tree wrap.
That's where it goes, on the tree.
Yes.
And if it gets a little on the tree wrap, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't see any issues with that, no.
Lee
All
says the filter, how often does it need to be changed? That's a Janice question.
Okay, so the KDF filter will approximately last a year or so, depending on use. It's a really big, it depends, because it's going to matter how much water is going through and how much chlorine or other minerals are going through. So what you're basically going to do is about a year or so, test it with what you would say is like a pool kit tester. If you see the chlorine, then it's time to replace the filter and make a note of how long it's going to last. And that's when you're going to figure out what's working with your system.
Yeah.
First off, before we keep going, we've got a good 17 more questions that we are still reading to see if they're any good. Thank you for staying on this long. We're going to continue going and
We can get this wrapped up in the next 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Shelley
Shelley.
says, could you use the old-fashioned dial and spray applicators? I know we use it to apply iron back in my nursery growing days.
I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Is that like a hose end sprayer? That's pretty,
Yeah.
That's very popular. It works really well.
Bob wants to know, can you use essence on citrus?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. If you're any tree that's fruiting, we recommend that you apply essence.
Well, and you can apply your products to any growing plant.
Yes, including grass.
Yeah.
There you go.
We've had some people asking about succulents and cacti. I believe that would be just a super diluted portion of this. I don't know the ratio, proper ratios.
It's very small. So we're looking at, I think it's like a quarter of a teaspoon, which comes out to like 1 ml, which is like our lowest. I know it's hard to go back and forth. So like a quarter of a teaspoon when you're feeding succulent, the very lowest.
For a gallon of water.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Cool.
Lynn says, we've just transplanted our potting mix and it says to wait 3 to 4 weeks before starting a feeding schedule. Would this still be true using your system?
Well, that is just the basics of just precaution. You just want to make sure that you don't overload the system when you are planting or using some type of potting soil that contains nutrients already. But we definitely want to make sure heart is in that potting mix, because heart is going to be the ultimate food source to feed your bacteria to help break down the nutrients in your potting soil.
Cool.
So heart is going to take advantage of what's already in the potting mix.
Yes, and it's going to make sure that you reach your nice, rich microbial diversity.
Cool. Carol says, I have arsenic in my soil, so I have raised beds. Any bioremediation advice? I understand that microbes are the key as an alternative to removing the native soil.
I don't believe that we found a bacteria to consume arsenic, but some of my old research back in college is if you plant corn, corn will start to pull the arsenic out of the soil.
Oh, well, there
And
you go.
wouldn't eat it then, right? You plant
No,
it.
you would not eat it, but it is a good remediation for arsenic.
There you go. So plant the corn, let the corn grow, and then get rid of the corn.
Yes.
Shirley, you want the garden schedule, reach out to me in an email and I'll get it to you. Lilani says, what is the ideal mix of soil if we are starting from scratch in a raised bed and using your products?
So normally you want to use the rule of thumb is you're looking at your sand, your silt, and your clay. Probably you're going to have about 60% clay mixed in with about 20% sand and 10% silt. But you're normally going to get that automatically when you're buying potted soil. So you don't have to worry about mixing your own combination. And when it comes to our products, as soon as you've got that soil down and planted, you start to apply our products immediately.
Good.
Jeannie wants to know, hey, Jeannie, she wants to know, how do you test for sugar, or how do you run a Brix test?
Want to take care of that, Anthony?
Yeah, so for a Brix test, you would need some sort of tool like a Brix meter. And I've seen it where you just pretty much can squish the fruit onto the device and you'll look through it kind of like a scope. You can also send out leaf tissues to third-party labs and they can get that the analysis for you as well. But I'm not quite sure the price on a handheld Brix meter, but that's one of the quickest ways you can go about testing your bricks.
And you can definitely find those on Amazon.
Yeah, there's really simple way to, really simple.
And
Anonymous
there's
one,
a variety
go-
of prices too.
what was that, Janice?
I was like, there's a variety of prices too.
Yeah. Anonymous wants to know, how far does a gallon of foliar feed go? 1 tree, 2 trees? Looking to understand how much to spray on the trees. Well, the laminated planting, the laminated
Schedule.
schedule that we ship with this will help you with that. But Anthony?
I think we came up with the idea is that 1 gallon would treat was it 4 to 6 mature trees, something around there?
For the year.
Per it's like for your application. So if you're making a 1 gallon solution, that solution should be able to treat at least, 4 to 6 of those mature trees.
Mature trees. It depends on the size and how many leaves are on your trees.
Yes.
Yes, but what he asked was a gallon of the foliar feeds. We're only using an ounce. So on the 32-ounce bottle of foliar feed, we're only using an ounce in a gallon.
Right. So it's gonna last. It could last you the whole season, and even some into the next season if you're just using it for foliar. If you do foliar and drench, it's gonna go a little bit faster, but still the products do go a long ways.
When we're talking a gallon, we're talking about this solution of water plus foliar feed. And we sell the foliar feed that can be shipped in quart size. So just for clarity there, if you were talking about how far does a gallon go, the gallon of water plus foliar solution can go on several trees depending on the size. And I've been able to get 2 gallons to go on my 10 to 15 trees. Just one trip will do it. Depending on the time of the year too, because the more foliage there is, the more I want to spray. But if you're talking about the size of the products themselves, 1 quart will go quite a distance.
I used a 5-gallon dosage. So however much you put in 5 gallons of water, I can't remember off the top of my head. And I watered my 180 potted trees and shrubs and my garden vegetables with that. So it goes a long way.
It does. It
Shayna
also
said,
depends how much foliage you have.
yeah. Shayna says, I recently transplanted a large number of blackberry plants and I'm wondering if or how I could use these products to help them recover from transplant shock and get established in their new location. I was unfortunately not able to move them during dormancy, so I'm sure they need even a little more support.
Yeah, so definitely your cane fruit is going to need acidic soils around a pH of 5. I don't think that's going to be found anywhere unless you're near a volcano. So what we want to do is make sure that we get heart down in the ground as soon as we can. Remember, heart is going to buffer the soil. and make the roots think that they're in the right pH to sustain their growth. And so the faster you can get heart down, the faster that plant will come out of shock.
And transplant shock is normal. Just got to try and help mitigate it.
Yep.
Yes.
Teresa says, what's the shelf life of these products?
Well,
Well, two answers there. So based on the regulatory, we have to have something on the label that's reasonable. And so we put about 2-year shelf life, but they are organic products. They were mined from the earth. And so they've been around for a really long time. So you want to look out for spoilage. That is, say that something gets in a lot of dust and you see some type of growth, but more than likely, you're going to be able to have these products for up to 10 years if you want them.
But use them before then.
yeah.
Yes,
I don't see how anybody's going to have them for 10 years if they're using them properly.
yes.
Right.
Elisa has a great question. Any personal protective equipment needed during the foliar feeding?
No, not at all. They're 100% organic. You can get them on your skin, even the fish. It smells stinky, but it's 100% organic, will not burn or cause
Done
any
that.
type of irritation.
I would not breathe it though. If you're using it in a sprayer gun, just, don't breathe it in, but probably not going to hurt you, but I'd stay away from that.
Eleanor says, are there instructions in written form or website to go to learn how to use the products? Good question. We at the Urban Farm have a wonderful page called urbanfarm.org/nutrition. And that is how we break down our schedule of garden and fruit tree applications by how much to use, and pay attention to the temperatures of the air, because foliar feeding works best in a range. If it gets too hot or too cold, trees aren't going to soak it up as effectively. So go to urbanfarm.org/nutrition. That is not the laminated version, but it does have the same information.
Cool. Anonymous wants to know if this stuff will have stuff grow inside of his drip tape. That hasn't been my experience.
Not mine either.
Yeah.
The best thing you can do to avoid that is just to dilute the solution, just in case. You don't want to pour directly. Don't use a concentrated form of these products. Definitely go ahead and mix them with water so you can help avoid that situation.
Yeah. Lynn wants a real quick note about who you are because she jumped in late. We have our guests, Derex and Anthony from High Creations. They are 2 scientists based in Arizona that are chemists, also scientists, specifically chemists, in Arizona, who have developed a line of products that we 100% wholeheartedly endorse at the Urban Farm and are thrilled to share this information. So I hope that helps, Lynn. If you need more, you can replay the video.
Yep. Eleanor wants to know if she mixed some of these products up, does she need to use it all at once, or can it be saved for a next application?
I would say it's best to use them all at once if you can. I think we talked about that these are biologically active products, so they can have some stuff grow in them from time to time. But if you have to, I would say seal it off as much as you can. You want to, if you're going to hold it in something, make sure it's filled to the top and you close it, very well. You don't want really any more oxygen or anything else that could get in there and start some more biological growth.
When it's so diluted, just use it.
Yeah.
Find a plant or a tree.
Yeah.
Shez, there's been several questions like this. Shez wants to know foliar feeding on pine trees. Yes.
Yep.
If it's a green plant, use it.
Yes.
If it's a green plant, if it's a red plant, if it's a yellow plant, use it. If it's a plant.
Yeah.
Yvonne asks a fun question. Does Noble Gills make your produce taste like fish?
No, it's not gonna make. We use such a diluted amount. It's just not gonna smell, and it's not gonna taste like fish. So even though that bottle smells pretty strong, the amount you're putting in there, that scent's not gonna transfer over.
Cool. At this point, we are not shipping. We got Jane and Dolly that want to know if we ship to Canada. Do you guys ship to Canada?
No, we
No.
do not.
We do not know.
Unfortunately, the regulations and the expense of getting things through customs are so cost prohibitive that we haven't got to
Yeah.
that yet. I mean,
Yep, go ahead.
and we shipped a small box of seeds the other days, and it cost us an additional $60 to ship a small box of seeds. So
Yeah.
it's not worth it.
Anonymous, yes, there is a replay. We're working on that. Dennis from Rocky Point. I responded to your email today, Dennis. Dennis from Rocky Point wants to know if you're ever going to sell 1-gallon containers.
Oh, that's a good question. And me and Anthony definitely talked about that last night. And I think, Greg, you'll be able to get back to your customers and tell them the good news, hopefully.
Yes,
But-
all right.
Woo-hoo, we are waiting with bated breath. We do carry the 1 quarts, and we carry 5 gallons, which are a definite economic savings there for those who are local, but we do not ship the 5-gallon containers. That's too hard.
Yeah.
We love our post people too much.
Our Teresa wants to know, she says, not a serious question, but can we use it on a manufacturing plant?
Oh,
Jewel says she'll be happy with 1 gallons.
yes, 1 gallons would be economically better, but we'll see what happens.
All right, Janice, would you just review quickly our special for tonight?
So if you buy the combo, which has the 4 liquids in it, the soul, the noble gills, the essence, and it comes with heart for free. So you're already getting heart for free, and you add in a mod kit, then we will throw in the nutritional schedule, the double-sided page of garden and fruit tree fertilizing and feeding schedule.
Nice. Thank you, Janice.
Thank you.
Any final thoughts, Derex and Anthony?
No, thank you guys for having us on, and it's been a pleasure answering all of your questions. And we love you guys. Thank you.
Yeah,
Right back
thank
at you.
Thanks for so much for listening and tuning in. Everyone counts. We really like to see as many participants as we can. So this has been quite the journey with the Urban Farm and High Creations, and I feel we
Yes.
get bigger and bigger every year.
Yep.
And one last time, to go shopping for our supplies, you can go to store.urbanfarm.org/feed-the-leaves. Again, that's
Awesome.
store.urbanfarm.org/feed-the-leaves.
Lisa says, Greg, could you help answer the question since the time is out? I'm not sure what that means. We've got to all the questions, and thank you both, Anthony and Derex. Thank you, Janice.
Thank
Have a
you.
great one, and we'll put this out tomorrow.
You can reach out to
All right.
us, Greg or Janice at urbanfarm.org, Greg at urbanfarm.org, Janice at urbanfarm.org. You can reach each of us there. And the boys are at highcreations.com, highcreations.com.
That's us.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
guys. All right.
Alrighty.
Goodbye, everyone.
Appreciate your time. Good
Bye-bye.
job. Thanks. Bye.